Hey guys, in the video today we're going to talk about whether or not we're in a New Jersey real estate bubble, what's going to happen if we are, what will happen if we're not, so stay tuned, take a look. So are we in a real estate bubble here in New Jersey? Yeah. You didn't think I was going to say yes to that one, but it's what happens next that you really need to stay tuned and watch for. Guys, so thank you so much for watching our videos. Only about 10% of you who watch our videos are actually subscribed, so please hit that subscribe button down below. It lets us know that the content we're making, we should continue. All right, so real estate bubble here in New Jersey. Yeah, it's real, but this is the most common thing searched on real estate right now for the entire United States. We're getting this question a ton from our clients if we are in a real estate bubble. And yes, the answer is yes. But what is a bubble? So let's look at that for a second. So Merriam-Webster's dictionary definition of what a bubble is says that it's a state of booming economic activity, as in the stock market, that often ends in sudden collapse. Now, I would challenge that because I don't think that accurately describes what's going on right now. There's a definition in the Oxford Dictionary that says, a bubble is used to refer to a good or fortunate situation that is isolated from reality or unlikely to last. Now, unlikely to last and collapse suddenly is a very big difference, and that's where I think the detail lies in what's happening with the market right now. So if we were to go outside right now and asked to do word association with 100 people, and we said, we're gonna give you the word bubble, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Probably 70% of people would say gum, right? Bubble gum. But the remainder of the people would probably say burst or pop, because that's what bubbles do, right? They pop. And when you hear real estate bubble, innately you think that it's going to burst, especially if you relate it to the most recent bubble we had, which was in 2007 when the market burst, the bubble burst, and it was catastrophic. So let's think about the actual dynamics of a bubble itself, right? A bubble is something that inflates and inflates, and it will pop when it reaches its max elasticity, right? Let's think about when you were a kid, or maybe you still do. You blow a bubble with gum, right? Let's say you wanted to marvel at that bubble and you didn't want it to pop. What'd you do? You stopped inflating it, or maybe you actually sucked a little bit of air back out of it and deflated it, or maybe you took all the air out of it and just put it back in your mouth and kept chewing it like gum. Well, that's because it's elastic, and the same thing can happen with real estate markets. The point where you don't want the bubble to burst is exactly where we are in the real estate market here in New Jersey and nationally right now. The government is the person trying to stop that bubble from bursting. The air, that's you and me. And it is all tied to inflation. Now, by all accounts, the economy is on fire. GDP is off the chart, unemployment's economically low or historically low. Everything points in the right direction, except for the fact that inflation is out of control. The government needs to step in and slow that down because everything is getting so much more expensive than wages are keeping up with that eventually people won't be able to afford the goods that they want to buy. That's why the government needs to step in. Now, I'm not an economist. I'm not going to bore you with more charts and definitions, but there was an article that came out on the Associated Press website that I think explains what's happened over the last 24 months economically here in the country better than ever I could possibly ever do. So I'm just going to read that to you. When the pandemic paralyzed the economy in the spring of 2020 and lockdowns kicked in, businesses closed or cut hours and consumers stayed home as a health precaution. Employers slashed a breathtaking 22 million jobs. Economic output plunged at a record-shattering 31% annual rate in the 2020's April to June quarter. Everyone braced for more misery. Companies cut investment and postponed restocking. Now that's important. A brutal recession ensued, but instead of sinking into a prolonged downturn, the economy staged an unexpectedly rousing recovery fueled by vast infusions of government aid and emergency intervention by the Fed. The Federal Reserve, that is, which emboldened customers, which slashed interest rates, among other things. Now, by spring of last year, which is 2021, the rollout of vaccines had emboldened customers to return to bars, restaurants, shops, and airports. Suddenly, businesses had to scramble to meet demand. They couldn't hire fast enough to fill the jobs, a near record 10.9 million that were needed in December of last year, or buy enough supplies to meet customer orders. As business roared back, ports and freight yards couldn't handle the traffic. You guys heard about your furniture that's been sitting on a freight boat out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? Global supply chains became seized up. With demand up and supplies down, costs rose. Companies found they could pass along those higher costs in the form of higher prices to customers, many of whom had managed to sock away a ton of savings during the pandemic. That all makes sense, right? So the real estate market is on fire across the country, and New Jersey is no exception. But it is not sustainable to have double-digit home value appreciation year over year. Eventually, the home price just gets too far above where the person who wants to buy that house can afford if wages can't keep up with what home prices are doing. So the government has to step in and raise interest rates, mortgage interest rates, or affect that to happen so that it can cause people to exit out of the market. Now, we started January 2022 with mortgage interest rates on average below 3%. We're here in April 2022 over 5% on average, and before the end of this year, we will be likely at 6%. That means that the interest on your mortgage has doubled in less than 12 months. So naturally, there will be some buyers who back out or exit the pool, right? Prices have gotten too high, and now the mortgage rates on top of that are gonna make the house that they wanna buy unattainable. That's a good thing. That means that some of this unbelievable pressure we have on the market right now, thinking about this bubble, will actually deflate a little bit. We'll have some pressure release and eventually head back towards normalcy and balance in the market. But we are a long, long way off from getting back to a neutral market. So inventory is another huge part of this problem. The number of homes available on the market is historically low. I mean, crazy low. And if rates continue to go up, there'll be less incentive for sellers to put their house on the market if they know they have to buy in that market as well. So we may be in for quite a while until we see the inventory situation actually get better. Now, the National Association of Realtors economic forecast for the housing market for 2022 just came out, and they're stating that the number of home sales in the year 2022 will be expected to go down 3.5% compared to last year, but home prices will still go up 5%. And that is due to supply and demand and the imbalance between the number of buyers compared to the amount of inventory that's on the market. Now, going from 20% year over year home price appreciation to 10% year over year to 5% year over year, that's not a bubble bursting, that's deflation. Now, the US government and the Fed are historically terrible at predicting economic cycles and controlling them. But if this is done correctly and they can do controlled deflation to the market, we could get ourselves back to a sustainable real estate market. Now, even if the market pulled back to 5% year over year appreciation, that's still on a historical pattern of normal. And compared to what we've grown over the last 2 to 2.5 years, that would still make 2022 one of the 10 best years in US history for the real estate market. So the bubble's not going to burst, but rates are going to go up. So what do? First, you have to think about, why are you moving? And how long do you plan to be there? If this is a move that's only going to be a 4-year move, then don't buy the house with a 30-year fixed rate mortgage over 5%. Go for a 5-year or a 7-year ARM. And if you don't know what those are, that's why you should reach out. If this is going to be your house for the foreseeable future, 12, 15 years, then buy it now before prices go up further, rates go up further. And as rates eventually come back down, which they will, then you can refinance to the lower rate. So are we in a real estate bubble? Yes, very likely. Is it going to burst? No, very unlikely. But even if the market crashed and prices went down 20%, which nobody sees coming and there's really no explanation why that would happen, that's still only a fraction of the 35 to 40% appreciation that home has gone up over the last 2 to 2.5 years. So it all depends on your cycle. If you buy real estate and you can wait it out, even if there are short-term blips in that cycle, it will go up. Buy real estate and hold it. Historically, it goes up in value. Just depends on how long you hold it for. Thank you guys for watching the video. As always, we appreciate it. Please make sure to check us out on social. Hit that subscribe button down below. And if you have direct questions you want to ask us, dial me at 201-596-6236. Thanks for watching.